So, Atlantic Restaurant Group. You're not a bunch of restaurants.
Right.
What are you?
We're a commercial real estate company that specializes in the sale of restaurants. We've been selling restaurants since 2002, so we're coming up on our 10th year right now. We've been involved in almost 600 restaurant transactions over the last 10 years.
So, selling restaurants. I just went through that article there on the table visit about Nation's Restaurant News. Sales are up, sales are increasing. How's the market in restaurant sales?
We're actually seeing, the past 6 months, we're seeing a lot more national chains being active in the Boston area. The last 2.5 years, the national chains have been really quiet. Everyone's been battening down the hatches and trying to make money and perform on their same-store sales. Now we're seeing them venture into Boston. We've got a number of national chains coming to Boston in the next 3 to 6 months. So it's a pretty interesting time right now.
So, but now is it similar? I mean, does your market operate similar to the housing market? Where right now it's a buyer's market out there. Housing prices are way down. If you've got any kind of net worth that you can go out and you can purchase properties, can people purchase restaurants now at basic bargain discount prices?
Right. So most of the transactions that we do, Mike, are independently owned restaurants. When an independently owned restaurant is ready to sell for whatever reason, either they're retiring or sales are soft or the business model just doesn't work, they'll call us. And what we'll do is we'll take that and look around and say, okay, who's looking to buy right now? Is there a national chain? Is this a good site for a national chain? Or is it another independent operator and we'll just replace one or the other? So it's definitely a buyer's market right now. The banks have started to come back in, so we're seeing a lot of activity.
So, talking about the national chains, now majority of your larger chains lease their properties.
Right.
They don't necessarily go out. They don't want to be landlords. They don't want to own property. They're not in the real estate business. They're in the restaurant business. Mm-hmm. So how does that work with someone like you who's selling restaurants?
We'll take if we have an existing restaurant space. For an example, would be. In Boston on Washington Street, we had the Bombay Club for sale at 1435 Washington Street. It's been a restaurant location for 15 years. The seller came to us and asked us to find a buyer for it, so we'd put it out there for another independent or for a chain to look at it. Typically, the chains don't want to go in and buy your physical assets. They don't want to buy your furniture, fixtures, equipment, or your build out. They typically want to come in and clean the space out and install their prototype there. So that's usually when we'll see chains. Most of the time, the chains are looking for vacant space. They're looking for new build-outs over in the Seaport area, at the former Jimmy's Harbor side. Mm-hmm. You've got Legal, you've got Del Frisco's, you've got all this brand new space, and those developers went out and looked for those operators. They're very good tenants for those operators. They pay great rent. Right.
So, but they're paying the rent. So, that doesn't fall into your business model, though?
Typically, on the development side, the developers will go out and find those tenants first, and if something were to happen to one of those tenants, not necessarily at that location, but at mall locations, for instance, we usually get called in by the second guy. The guy that's been in there and he's failed for whatever reason, he needs to get out, they'll call us to get them out. Okay, so it's after the first time out, it's the developers with their team going out securing the tenants. Once they go in and spend the money on the build-out, they don't want the landlord necessarily to know that they've got a problem. Right. They'll call us to start scoping around, see if we can find a buyer for them.
Okay. So, like, if any one of those, I mean, I'm by the looks of it, Legals, Del Frisco's, Jerry Remy's, those guys are going to be cranking it for many years. But if one of them were in trouble,
right,
they'd reach out to you.
They possibly could, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, sales are positive. We're seeing it in the marketplace. So why are people selling? Why are they getting out because they're not making it, or are they getting out because they think it's just a good time to get out?
I don't think anybody thinks that it's a great time to sell right now because prices are down 25% over where they were in 2006. But you'll have an operator that's been in a location for 27 years that's just done with it. He's done his time, made his money, and now it's time to move on. That's the best seller for us. Somebody that's not financially burdened, but it's just they're looking to retire. They made all their money, and now they want to transition. So rather than just close up shop and go away, they still have something to sell. So an example is one of our listings is Baker's Best in Newton. Michael's had Lincoln Street store for 27 years, and he built a big catering business, and they've taken that catering business and moved it to another location in Needham, so they have a retail cafe that they just don't use anymore. So they've asked us to take that to market and find someone to replace them in that location. So the name and the phone number will go with Baker's Best to their catering operation, but they have a 4,000 square foot location that's done it did $11 million in 2006.
Wow.
So it's a proven restaurant location that for somebody would be a great site.
So is it still open?
He's still operating, correct, as we find a buyer.
Still operating, just says, listen, I just don't need to operate it anymore. It's not part of my business
Our business model has changed, so we don't have a use for this store, so take it out and see if you can find someone to come in and replace us in that location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any bites?
Yeah, we've had a lot of action on it. It's not under agreement yet, but we've had a lot of action on it.
So what else do you have that's out there that people, is kind of a hot spot that people can look at?
Some of the other things that we get is if there's a restaurant that's in financial trouble. We have a restaurant in Pembroke that the gentleman spent $1.8 million. He bought the restaurant, did $1 million worth of improvements, and him and his business partners, they broke up the partnership. And sales went down, and he's in a position now it's closed and it's for sale. So they'll come to us and we'll market that through MLS and LoopNet and all the typical traditional real estate marketing methods. And then we reach out to the 5,000 people that we have on our mailing list, and we'll just start working some of those buyers.
So now how hard is it to sell, because you've got the buyers coming in, the business is shut down.
Right.
So I mean, are they coming in like coyotes and vultures and saying, I'm going to give you peanuts for it, and they all, because I mean, in anything in sales, it's always, people, the buyer typically thinks it's a game when they're walking through the door. So how do you work through those challenges?
So the way our business works is that ground zero is Boylston Street and Dartmouth Street in Boston. Okay, if we get anything in that area that's for sale, all we need to do is let people know we have it available, and the buyers come because everybody wants to be at that location. So as you get further away from the city, okay, this happens to be in Pembroke, so we have to go out and hunt for somebody that wants to be in Pembroke. If we had this located, it's a 6,000 square foot brand new location, hardwood floors, it's gorgeous. If we took that and put it in Boston, we'd have a flock of people looking for that. But where it's out in the suburb, it's in Pembroke, so who wants to be in Pembroke? 20 miles south of Boston.
South of Boston, right.
Right. So that's the biggest challenge is hunting for someone that has a need for that unit.